Welcome. We're glad to have you guys here. I'm going to give you a few words, and then I'll get right into the program. You're going to learn a ton of information. Get a cold drink or a warm drink, whatever you want. Get a pencil and pad. Write some notes. Okay, so let's get started, folks. I want you to follow along with me. And for the rest of today, I'm going to give you transformational ideas. Now, these ideas are going to be things that you can put to work when you finish this event. So this is really a big deal. Now, everything is proven and tested, and I'm going to show you how to grow financially. Now, that's why most people are here, and that's exactly what we're going to try to do with you. So welcome aboard. Now, I do this stuff myself, and I've done this by teaching other people. For years, I've taught people how to do this. This is my over 30 years of doing the same thing, tax liens and tax defaulted property. So this is really a part-time adventure for you, but you're going to be able to make full-time money. Now, we teach people to make $25,000, $50,000, even $100,000 on one single deal. So we're not in the business of teaching you how to make $3,000 or $4,000. We're going to show you how to make real money so that you can use this money to do a retirement if you want, financial independence, whatever it is that you're after. We're going to be able to show you how to do all that. All right, now I'm going to show you, before we finish, a step-by-step process, one deal after another deal. And again, I'm very serious about how much money we make. Now, we teach people, don't get in the deal and do all this work to just make pennies. We're going to show you how to buy the property right. Then we're going to show you how to have a margin between what you're going to sell it for, show you how to sell it. We're going to be one of the only places where you're going to learn how to actually sell. We're going to show you how to sell these properties. We're going to teach you to buy it low, and we're going to teach you to sell it low. We're going to teach you to make $25,000, $50,000, and even $100,000. Now, how am I going to do that? I'll show you some real world case histories from people all across the United States and people that are outside the United States. So we have lots of clients that are outside the United States buying inside the United States, and we can teach you how to do that online. So stay with me, just kind of open up your mind. You're going to see this is a nice way to make money, and we're getting ready to get started immediately. So here we go. We're going to start talking about tax lien certificates. All right, now I'll give you the secrets of doing this, and this is where you can buy tax lien certificates, pay pennies on the dollar, and earn 16, 18, up to 24%. I'm also going to show you how to buy tax defaulted property. Now, the tax defaulted property is unusual because the treasurer actually sells the property at a very low price. The low price is the back taxes in most cases. So it's discounted 60%, 70%, 80%. Imagine getting an 80% discount on a property. We're going to show you that, and I'm actually going to show you the steps so you can buy these properties for 15, 20, 30 cents on the dollar, and there'll be no mortgage, no deed of trust. So write that down. No mortgage, no deed of trust. Now, how do we get to do that? Well, you're going to discover not only can we make these high rates on tax defaulted property and tax lien certificates, you're going to make safe money on government certificates, and you're also going to be able to buy tax defaulted property 60, 70, 80% discounts with no mortgage or deed or trust loan. Now, why does that all happen? Because it's in the law in every single county in the United States. All right, so we're going to talk about government certificates to get started. These are tax lien certificates. So what I'd like you to do is take a close look at the screen. On the left side, you can see a property. Now, that could be an office building. It could be a warehouse. It could be a farm. It could be any property, okay? Real estate property. All right, now those real estate properties all are taxable. The legislature requires every property in the United States to pay a property tax. Now, that tax is due to the local county. Now, if you're outside the United States, it's going to be due to the local county government. All right, so now, what is the tax going to be? Generally speaking, it's going to be about 1%. Now, it's going to be a little higher in some places like New Jersey and New York and some California. Some of the high-priced states going to be a little higher. But generally speaking, tax is 1%. Now, what happens if the people don't pay the tax? In half of the states, they're going to issue a tax lien certificate. So follow the arrows. It goes to the government center, and then let's come down and you see the tax lien certificate. All right, tax lien certificates are usually sold to the lowest bidder. They're usually sold to the lowest bidder. You might want to make a note on that. Now, when you buy a tax lien certificate, you have no right to go on the property. You don't have anything to do with the property. You just get a piece of paper, and you have a right to earn interest on that. All right, half of the states sell tax lien certificates. The other states are going to sell tax defaulted property. Now, we sell tax defaulted. Follow the arrows on the right, It goes down, you'll get a tax deed, and those are sold to the highest bidder at the auction. So the auctions are a little bit different, but they're all public auctions. Anybody can go. And you find out about the public auctions on the county, at the county website, and you can find them online, and you can find them in the local newspaper. So put that in the back of your mind. How do you find those auctions? There's going to be 5,000 auctions this year. There's 3,200 counties. They're all going to have one or more auctions this year. Now, when you pay the taxes and you buy a tax lien certificate, you're paying someone else's tax bill. When you buy a tax lien certificate, you're paying someone else's tax bill. That gives you, when you get that certificate, which is just a piece of paper, that gives you the number one position. That means you're the first lien on that property. You're ahead of the mortgage, you're ahead of the IRS, you're ahead of any court judgment. You own the number one lien. Now, what does that mean to you? It means you now control the property. Property can't be sold. It can't be mortgaged. Nothing can happen on that property until you get paid. So the beauty of tax lien certificate is you invest with the government, you're going to get a check back from the government. So let's do that again. You can't buy them from Ted.Thomas. You're going to invest with the government, you're going to get a check back from the government. So tax lien certificates, only two things can happen. One, you get paid. That's a good deal because the interest rates are so high, 16, 18, up to 24%. Those are the highest rates. All right, all of those rates, you could earn that much money, all right, but your check's coming from the government. Now, if you don't get paid on a tax certificate, then you're going to be authorized to take that property. Well, what a great deal that is. If you don't get paid, you're going to buy a property for pennies on the dollar. How much will you have paid? You will have only paid to buy that tax lien certificate. So what are we talking about here? We're really talking about the safest and the most lucrative investment in America today. Safest, most lucrative investment in America today. Can't buy them from me. You invest with the government, you're going to get a check back from the government. All right, now let's think about the rates. All right, I'm giving you the highest rates that each one of these states are going to pay. So in Arizona, it's like 16. In Iowa, it's like 24. In Illinois, it's 36. And I'll go over these again and again, but you might want to make some notes as you go along. These are rates that are on the certificate, and you're guaranteed to get that rate. Now, some people, they make money on their investments every time. And the way you do that is you own these tax lien certificates. People that own tax lien certificates, they make money every time because when they raise their hand at the auction and they buy that piece of paper, when they buy that, it's written right on it that the government's going to pay you that interest rate. So you'll know that you're going to get paid on the tax lien certificate and you make a nice rate of return. Now, bank rates, 1%, 2%, or 3%, but tax lien certificates are significantly higher than that. All right, now the tax collector, when you raise your hand to buy that certificate, you're going to buy it at auction, and the tax collector is going to be there right along with the treasurer at the auction, and they're going to put your name right in the county records at that point in time that you own the number one lien on that property. So the property can't be sold, can't be mortgaged. They can't do anything with that property until they pay you. And if they don't pay you, you're going to get the property without a mortgage, okay? The mortgage and the deed of trust are crossed out when you buy a property in tax lien auction, or I should say when you buy a certificate at tax lien auction, or you buy a property at a tax defaulted auction. In both cases, the mortgage is wiped out. Now, I didn't make that rule. As you can see by looking at the side, it's the law in every county in the United States. Quick review. Every property in the United States on the left could be an office building, could be a ranch, a farm, small apartment property. It all has a tax. Tax is usually about 1%. It's owed to the local county. All right. If you're in a state that sells tax lien certificates, all right, you could get a certificate. Okay, those certificates are sold at auction. They're public auctions. Anybody can go to it. Those are announced on the county website. They're also announced in the newspaper. All right. It could be a tax defaulted state. So that means they're going to sell a tax deed. All right. When they sell the tax deed, that simply means you're going to get the property right there at the auction. All right. So here's the deal. You think about what I'm going to say right now. If you go out and start a business and you're an entrepreneur and you start a business, good for you. But when you do, that has a high risk. So does the government guarantee that you're going to make that business a success? No. All right. But I tell you what, if you buy a tax lien certificate, the government in that county gives you the right to get back all of your money plus the high interest rate. The government gives you the right to get back all your money plus the high interest rate. If you don't get paid, you get the property. Folks, this is an amazing investment. Now, people ask me all the time, they say, Ted, why on earth is the government selling these certificates? The government uses property taxes to pay for local government. In other words, the property tax is mandated by the legislature. And the money that comes in that's generated from property tax, well, that's what pays all the bills at the county. For example, pays for the police department, pays for the firefighters, pays for the roads. In other words, you got to have somebody to fix the roads, okay? Somebody to run, how about the schools? Going to take care of all the school teachers and the schools themselves. All of those bills are paid with property tax. So if the county can't collect the tax, the county has a big problem. So what they do is they confiscate properties that don't have the taxes paid, and then they sell those properties. But half of the states are benevolent, so they sell a tax lien first, and then if that tax lien doesn't get paid, then they're going to sell the property. This is an investment that you can take advantage of, and you can start tomorrow. There's going to be 5,000 auctions this year. There's over 3,200 counties in the United States that are selling these. Now, a question comes up. Why haven't you heard about this? Why haven't you heard about it? Well, I'm going to tell you. Brokers aren't going to tell you about it. Financial planners don't tell you about it. Lawyers don't tell you about it. Why do these people not tell you about that? Well, it's very, very simple. They can't earn a commission on this. And we live in a country where those people only earn money. Salespeople make money on commissions. All right. The government doesn't allow tax lien certificates. They allow no commissions. So is the attorney going to tell you about it? Is the financial planner going to tell you about it? The broker going to? Those people earn their money on commission. So they can't make any money. So there's no reason they're going to tell you about it. I'm telling you about it now. Now that you know about it, understand you can do this in over 3,000 counties across this great country. So let's learn step by step how to do this. Now, I don't know how old you are, but you can be 16 or 61, wherever you want to be, or even older, and you can buy tax defaulted property, and you can buy tax lien certificates. Now, right now, I'm covering the tax lien certificate. So I want to introduce you to someone that's going to buy some tax lien certificate. And they're going to do that by getting a list and going to the auction. So this guy's name is Rocco. Now, I want you to look behind him, and you can see properties there. You can see a couple of houses, but if you look over his right shoulder, you can see there's some construction behind him. So he went to the auction, and he found a couple of properties that were for sale, and he found 27 lots. So he bought them. And when I say when he bought them, he didn't get the property. He bought the tax lien. So he raised his head, and he got a piece of paper. That's all he got was a piece of paper. All right. Now, does he have to go manage that? Does he have to paint it? Does he have to clean it? Does he have to cut the grass? He doesn't have to do anything. He's just got a piece of paper that's going to entitle him to collect cash. So let's see what happens to him. Folks, think what he did. He bought the tax certificate, took it home, put it on his desk, and then he sat on his rusty dusty. He didn't have to do anything. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the safest investment in America today. Why? Because we invest with the county, we're getting a check back from the county. Remember, every property has a tax. They have to pay the tax to the county. If they don't pay the tax to the county's either going to issue a tax lien certificate, which we just demonstrated, or the county's going to auction the property off and sell the actual property. I'm going to show you how to do both of those. Now, look, folks, I'm a solutions guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some solutions. I'm actually going to give you, before we finish today, I'm going to give you a game plan. Now, if you'll follow the game plan that I give you, I'll guarantee you'll be successful. If you'll just follow the step-by-step process, this was created before people could read and write. This is an easy system to do, but it's going to take you a few minutes to learn it. So just kind of get the learning process down, make some notes as you go along. All right, so what's the solutions people need? A lot of people have cash flow problems. Well, tax lien certificates solve the cash flow problem right away because these are cash flow certificates. In other words, you buy the certificate, and when the people come in and pay, which 95, 97% of these people are going to come in and pay, when they pay, you're going to have nice cash flow. So what's the other problem people have? Well, people, they want to grow in their job, they want to grow in their responsibility, and they want to grow their money. So I basically show them how to do both of these things. I show them how to have more cash flow, and I'm going to show them how to grow your portfolio and have more money in the future. All right, so stay with me because I'm going to show you different solutions, okay? Now, these solutions, when it comes to tax defaulted property, I'm going to tell you right now, tax defaulted properties and tax lien certificate, especially the certificates, are predictable, they're certain, and they're secure. So, folks, this is a low-risk business with high reward. All right, this is a business you can do in less than 10 hours every single month. All right, this is a lucrative business. Why do I say that? Because the rates that we're going to talk about are mandated by law. I can't change the rate. County can't change the rate. It's mandated by law. So I call this a safe haven investment when you're buying tax lien certificate. So you're going to invest with the government, and now you're going to get a check back. Now, you're probably getting used to this slide, and you get a good feel for it now. So every property has a tax, all right? Now, when the government comes along, if it's a tax lien certificate where that's located, they're going to sell tax lien certificate. Other states are going to sell tax defaulted property. Not to worry, I'm going to show you both of those. All right, so let's take a step back, take a little breath, and let's see if we can think about where we're going in the future. Now, most people, what they're thinking of is they want to make $25, $50, even $100,000 new income this year. So definitely don't quit your job. Keep your job, keep that job, and let's start thinking about that. So what I'd like you to do, just relax where you are now and just let your eyes close for a second and visualize $50,000 or $100,000. So let your eyes close and visualize that. You're going to have a nice feeling as you do that. All right. I'm interested in you being able to grow to that kind of level. So open your eyes back up and let's see if we can start taking you to a level where you're going to make a handful of dollars, not just 5 or 7 or 10,000. We're going to talk about making 25,000, 50,000, and $100,000. So what did we just see? We just watched Rocco, and what did he do? He bought tax lien certificates. All right, so he bought the tax lien certificate. There was no work to do. It was a passive investment. All right, now, when the people came in and paid, you saw that he made a nice rate of return. Well, folks, what would happen if the people didn't come in and pay? Well, if they didn't come in and pay, you would get the property. So I want you to imagine for a second, what if you bought a property that had a high value and you bought it for pennies and then the people didn't come in and pay? Well, I can tell you right now, read the bottom of the slide. When the auction takes place, the mortgage is wiped out. It's wiped off the property, or if it's a deed of trust, it's wiped off the property. So now let's look and meet. This is Drew and Risha. Now, they followed the exact game plan that I told them to follow. Now, what was that game plan all about? It said, start out with tax lien certificates, nice, easy way to start. All right, so they found out that, just like I told you, that these certificates are safe, secure investments. Well, that's what they wanted, safe and secure. They're a young couple, they're starting a family, so they want it safe and secure. But they also learned that if they bought that certificate and didn't get paid, they were going to get the keys to that property. Wouldn't you like to do the same thing? Well, it happens every single day. So what's happened to them is they purchased a tax lien certificate in Phoenix, Arizona. They purchased a certificate for $11,000. All right, now that might be a lot of money to most people, but in the overall scheme of things, that's not a lot of money. So they paid back taxes and paid $11,000 for the certificate. All right, now they don't have any work to do because this is a passive investment. So they took their certificate home, they just set it on their desk, and they set it on the resty dusty. Well, they're a young family growing up and so on, so they had a lot to do. So Risha stays home and takes care of the kids. Drew goes to work every day. And let's look at the bottom of the screen. So they bought a tax lien certificate for $11,000. You might recall in Arizona, 16% was the highest rate, and that's what they had on their certificate. Now, if they took the money and put it in the bank, they would have made 2 or 3%. But instead, they're going to make 16%. So they assumed they would make $1,500 on that certificate each year that it was invested. Well, they left the money invested, but the people didn't come in and pay their tax. So I always tell people the same thing. Whenever you hear me say this, you'll hear it again and again. Don't buy anything unless you look at it. Don't buy anything unless you look at it. Now, you ladies know what I'm talking about. You wouldn't marry the guy unless you looked at it. All right, so guess what? They did go out and look. They went out and looked at the property, all right? Turned out it was one of the units in this long building. Now, this is a long building of condominiums, and they're all built right on the water. And the tax assessed value is $180,000. Well, they own a certificate, so they have no rights to go to the property. They just have to wait until the people come in and pay. Well, they waited 1 year, then they waited 2 years, they waited 3 years, and the people did not come in and pay. So at that point in time, if you don't get paid, that means you can foreclose on the property. So they hired an attorney, and that's exactly what they did. They went through the foreclosure process, and the judge awarded them the property. Now, you remember, the value was $180,000, and they invested $11,000. The judge awarded them the property. So what did they do when they got the property? Well, they rented it out. So they rented it out long enough to get all of their $11,000 back. And then they decided they wanted to sell it. I thought you'd like to visit with them, so I brought them along today so you can visit with them too. This is quite interesting. Wow, folks, $169,000 hit their bank account. How many deals like that would you have to do in your life to be happy? You'd be pretty darn happy, that's for sure. Now, they didn't sell it themselves. They actually used Zillow, so they paid a commission on doing that. But after paying the commission, they had $169,000. So think about that. They invested $11,000, and they not only got the 11 back on the rental, but now they got another $169,000. So for every dollar they invested, they got another $17 back. Folks, how about one deal like that? Could you be happy with one deal like that? Well, of course you could. So the point is, we're teaching people how to do this. You can do the same thing. These auctions are taking place in 1,500 counties. 1,500 counties will have tax defaulted property. So you want to ask yourself this question: would it be in your best interest to learn how to do this? I already know the answer is yes. So now you want to start thinking about, when are you going to get started? Because this business has been around for 200 years. You just need to think about getting started. Now, I'm going to tell you up front, 64% of my clients are women. And why do I have so many women? Well, I'll tell you. They like the investment aspects of this, of buying it and then reselling it. Now, a lot of guys like this business because they like to buy properties that are fixtures, and they like to do that. Not to worry, I'm going to cover both of those. But I'm going to tell you, women really love this business. And why do they like it? Because they don't have to do fixer-upper if they don't want to. So learning this skill is certainly going to be in your best interest. Now, how much do you want what you want? So if you're doing things traditionally, I'm going to start introducing you to things that are a little bit different. My viewpoint's different. And if you're receptive, you're going to see this is a way to make great money. Well, folks, I hope all this is making sense to you, because this has been around for over 200 years. So make some notes. Tax lien certificates pay high interest rates. You just need to learn how to do it. You can find out about the auctions at the county records, and you can find out about them in the newspaper. So let's continue from there. All right, so tax certificates are safe and secure. So let's take a look at this particular slide. All right, the slide is black and white, but you know the law pertaining to tax liens and tax deeds is also black and white, just like the slide, black and white. So the law is right in the middle of the slide. You get paid or you get the property. So I didn't make that rule. So this is a predictable, certain, and secure investment. So why don't we learn how to make some money with these tax certificates? If you'll get a pencil and paper out and write a few things down as we go along right now, I'll be able to show you how to make money with tax lien certificates. And I'll do that by telling you a very quick story about someone that I've known for years in Phoenix, Arizona, who called me on the phone and said, he put $2,000 in the bank. And I said, well, why did you put $2,000 in the bank? Remember, the bank's only paying 2 or 3%. And he said, oh, well, Ted, I'm 35 today and I want to retire when I'm 55. And I said, oh, okay, I understand. I said, well, if you're going to retire, how long are you going to leave the money in the bank? He said, I'm going to leave the money in the bank for 20 years. I said, okay, let me see if I understand. You put $2,000 in the bank at 3% or whatever rate. What's your rate? He said, 3.75. I said, okay, 3.75. All right. And you're going to leave it there the whole time? He said, yes. I said, how much is it going to be worth at the end of that time? He said, well, I don't know what it's going to be worth in 20 years. I said, look, you have to know what it's worth because it's your retirement. He said, well, can you figure it out? So I just took my telephone. Now, your telephone also has a calculator. So in the calculator, I put the $2,000 that he had, and then I put 3.75. That was the interest rate. And I did it once. Then I just reiterated it 19 more times. So that means I'm now going to know what it's worth in 20 years. So his $2,000 is going to be worth a whopping $4,129. Now, folks, you don't want to make those deadly mistakes. You don't want to do that. And I told him, I said, Dave, you don't want to make a mistake like that. He said, what should I do? I said, well, I'm not a financial planner, okay? I'm not a CPA. I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm not any of those things. I said, you need to decide for yourself. He said, well, can I buy tax lien certificates in Arizona? And you already know you can. He said, how much could I make in Arizona? I said, you can make 16%. He said, well, how much would I have in 30 years? I said, how about we do 20 years? And he said, okay. So I put it in the calculator. All right. He's got how much money? $2,000, except in Arizona, you get 16%. So I put 16% in, and I just did it one more year. So what I did is, you can see right on the screen, 16% times the 2,000 for 1 year. Then I just reiterated 19 more times. How much is that going to be worth? Well, it's not going to be $4,100. It's going to be $30,000. Folks, think about what I just did. I only changed the interest rate. Now, this is your event. This is where you learn. Now, if you're learning, you decide. Do you want to put the money in the bank or do you want to buy the tax certificate? It's up to you. It doesn't matter to me which one you do, but it's going to make a big difference in your future. So Dave came right back to me and he said, wait a minute, Ted, what about other states? And I said, well, for me, I would go and try and do it in Iowa. He said, I don't want to drive to Iowa. I said, no, we could do it online. He says, you mean I can buy tax certificates online? I said, absolutely. He said, well, I want you to figure it out right now. What if I did it and I invested my $2,000 in Iowa certificates? So I did. I took my calculator. I put $2,000. Okay. Iowa pays 24%. I hope you're writing this down. 24%. He said, well, how much is it worth in 20 years? I said, in 20 years? Well, let's see. Let's do the math together. Okay. Now, I know what's going on in your head. You guys are afraid you're going to lose your assets. I know you're afraid of that. All right. This program's not going to let you down. So repeating 24% times $2,000, do it 1 year, then do it 19 more times. Folks, there's the answer. Wow. 120. So you decide. You want to put money in the bank and have 4,000, or do you want to buy Iowa certificate? It's going to be up to you. But the point is, I'm getting across to you, this is a powerful investment environment that all of you can take advantage of. And you should take it. You can't buy them from me. You have to buy them from the local government. So I hope you're learning a lot today and learning about these tax lien certificates. Now, as I said, all right, every property has a tax. All right, half of the states sell tax lien certificates. All right, and half of the states sell tax defaulted property. All right, with tax lien certificates, it's safe, it's secure, it's predictable. Anybody can do it. You can start out with $2,000. You can start out with $100,000. All right. Tax defaulted property means you're going to get the property. All right. So now think about where we are. Folks, if you had to start all over again, would you want to do that? Probably not. Would you switch professions? Probably not. But you know, what if you could do something part-time? So let's take a close look at the bottom of that slide. Folks, a lot of people make money. They don't have to work too hard. So if you raised your hand and bought a certificate and just let it sit on your desk, that's not too hard to do. So you'd have to do some research to learn how to do it. So you're getting the idea. This is an investment for works for people that are watching me right now. So I made some pretty big discoveries, which I'm going to share with you, and you're just really going to be surprised. I'm going to show you how this works, but let me just do a quick review so that you understand what takes place with tax certificates. So I decided when I learned this, I wanted to buy in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, Baltimore, Maryland pays 24% on a tax certificate. So I called on the phone. I got a woman on the phone and I said, I'd like to buy some tax lien certificates. You could do the same thing. And she said, great. And I said, how much do you pay in Baltimore? And she said, 24%. I said, great. I said, can you send me a list? She said, I'm going to send you a catalog. Folks, she sent me a catalog. And there was 9,127 certificates that I could buy. Now, folks, we're having a virtual event today. Sometimes I have 100 people on the call. Sometimes I have 200 people. All right. I don't know how many people are going to show up, but I can tell you if I take all of those people with me and we go to Baltimore, we can't buy all the certificates in Baltimore. So how would you like to make 24%? This is a powerful investment. All right. So from there, what did I do? I started calling other places. I'm going to show you some examples now. So I called Tampa, Florida, and I'm just going to get a newspaper here to show you because I don't think people would believe me. So I called Tampa, Florida, and they said that they had tax lien certificates also. All right. All right. Now, when I called there, they said they had as many as I wanted, but they couldn't send me a list and I'd have to call the newspaper. So I called the newspaper and look at the newspaper. They sent me the newspaper, and no, folks, there's no pictures in here. There's just thousands of tax lien certificates. Now, in Florida alone, there'll be 1 million certificates available. 1 million certificates available this year. Okay. Later on, I'm going to show you how we do this in other counties. But let's continue here. All right. So, tax lien certificates, they're in half of the counties, in half of the states. So now let's learn and transition to tax defaulted property. Now, this is what people really get excited about. They want to get a property and get it for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar. All right, so I started calling counties that sell tax defaulted property. So this is a picture of all the counties in New York. So I called New York and I started with the counties, and each county, and I called them and I said, I'd like to buy tax defaulted property. So when you want to do that in New York, what they'll do is they'll either put you online, which if they're online, they'll do that, or they'll send you a brochure. So let me find one. Here's some on my desk right here. So they'll send me a brochure like this. So here's New York. And as you can see, and I'm going to do Sullivan County in a minute. All right. They send brochure like this. The auctioneer made this brochure and sent it to me. And in the brochure, they not only describe the property, but they show you a picture of the property. All right. So just like the brochure that you're looking at there on that screen, all right, I have the same thing in my hand. Okay. So all of those counties in New York. Now, let me back up. All those counties in New York are going to sell properties at auction. Now, they have at least one auction every year, and they can have literally, they can have 50 properties, 150 properties, and they always tell you right on the brochure. For example, I'm going to show you one in a minute, but this brochure that I'm holding up is from Orange County. That's about an hour from New York City, an hour north, and there are 206 properties available at the auction. I'm going to show you auctions that are even bigger. Now, 206 properties available at auction, and the properties are going to have starting bids of 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, even 40 cents on the dollar, because the treasurer sets a tax assessed value and they sell the properties starting bid to back taxes. Now, I don't know what it'll sell for, but the starting bid is usually very close to the back taxes. So you're kind of getting the idea. All right. So there's an auction brochure from the state of New York. Now, why don't we go through an example so that you guys can see exactly what takes place? So what takes place is each year I do 4 events a year, and I invite people to come to the event, and I teach them how to buy at the auction. Once they've learned that, I send them to places like New York or wherever they want to go. They can go to any state they want in the union and do that. So I sent this couple to New York to buy properties at auction. You're going to get to see all that right now. So the county I sent them to was Sullivan County. And if you really look at that brochure, you can see a little gray mark on there. It shows that that county's about an hour from New York City. Now, they had 468 properties for sale. Now, all the auctions aren't that big, all right? But here's the important thing. The auction is going to start at minimum bid. The minimum bid is going to be at least the back taxes, all right? There'll be no mortgage or deed of trust. If you're buying in California, there'll be no deed of trust. Buying in New York, there's going to be no mortgage. So look on the left and in the circle, the auction is going to take 2 days to get so many properties. 2 days to sell that auction. All right, let's see the same brochure, and you'll see written right on the left side of it, mortgage-free properties. All right, these auctions are taking place at least once in every county in the United States this year. So there's no less than 3,000 counties. You could plan on at least 5,000.
How better go there? How better go there? How better go where? How better go here? How better now? How better go?
So I sent this couple to the auction, and I want you to write down what they actually did. So if you'll take your time and you'll just write down what they did, then we'll do some analytics and you'll see how profitable this whole thing could really be. And you could do the same thing. Remember, all the counties will have a website with the auction rules on it. They'll have a website with the properties on it. And the auction, if it's conducted by an auctioneer, you can get a brochure of what's taking place. None of this is hidden. It's all out. Okay, now I want you to stay with me because what we're going to do is going to do the analytics on what they just did. So the first property they bought was a single family home, and it was valued at $70,000. Now, I don't make the values. The tax assessor does that. So it's a tax assessed value that's considered a trusted source. All right. The value is $70,000. They paid $25,000. All right. Now, they had a tenant in it, and the tenant was generating $850 a month. So that means they're getting $10,000 income. So I don't know if you put $25,000 in and you're getting $10,000, I think I said a month, but $10,000 a year, you're getting $10,000 a year in income. I don't know if you want to sell that, but you can make up your mind if you want to do that. Probably be a relatively easy sale, so you could sell it and make the money. The second one was 27 acres. They said it was a wooded lot. It was on the water. Now look at the tax assessed value. It's sky high, $127,000. Now, if I say the value, no one's going to believe me. And a lot of sellers try to establish value. But when people look at, they do look at the tax assessed value. Sometimes it's a little high, sometimes a little low, but people trust those values. So here's a value of $175,000, and they paid $12,000. Now think about what they just did. They spent $12,000, and the property is worth $175,000. That means they spent 6 cents on the dollar. Now hold on just a second. Folks, if you can buy property for 6 cents on the dollar, and there's no mortgage or no deed of trust, Could you sell it for 16 cents and make money? Could you sell it for 26 cents on the dollar? Well, it's going to be up to you. All right. How would you go about selling it? Well, you could put it on eBay. You could put it on Craigslist. You could use Zillow. You could use the multiple listing service. You could put signs on the property. My point is, if you can do bargain real estate and sell it at a bargain, someone's going to want to do that, going to buy that property. So I established a system a long time ago. It's not a secret system by any means, where I buy it low, 6 cents on the dollar, and then I'm going to sell it low so I can sell it quickly. Why do I want to sell quickly? Because I know how to go to an auction. I want to have money to go to the next auction. So I buy it low and sell it low. Now, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I just drove around a little bit. I looked at the parking lot at Walmart. That was full. What did that tell me? They buy it low and they sell it low. How about Target? Do they do the same thing? Costco does the same thing. Why don't we just follow those systems, buy these properties for low prices, and then resell them? Anybody can do that. So I call this my Walmart strategy. So when I'm going to advertise it, I can put it in the newspaper. I can put it on Craigslist. I can put a multiple listing. I can put signs on it. You can do anything you want because now you own the property. So let's think about this Walmart strategy. So what if we did put it in the newspaper? So we could say you have an auction bargain. As soon as you say auction, everybody wants to in on the deal. Must sell, so they know we're motivated. Tax assessed value, 175. But I'm not going to try to sell for 175, and I would tell you not to. Why don't we give a 65% discount? Wow, look at that, 65%. So you tell me, is it going to take you four weeks, or is it going to take you 4 days? I don't know what it is going to sell the property, but you could sell it quickly. Now, I know what some people are saying. You say, Ted, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Yes, I am, because I want to get my cash and move on to the next one. So look what we did. She invested $12,000. You heard her say that, and she's going to sell for $62,000. That's a nice profit. I'm sure you could live with it. All right, now let's say you're a cheapskate and you're just starting out. She said she bought 2 other properties. Okay, the other properties were residential lots. All right, now one of the residential lots was valued at $20,000. She paid $1,000. Could you sell it for $4,900? Could you sell for $39,000? Could you sell for $10,000? I don't know, but you could certainly go buy low, sell low, and get action on it. Other lot, she said she spent $600 for. All right, could you sell that for $4,900 and be happy? You're getting the idea. Folks, you could be doing this online. I have people that are buying properties online. Now, you got to have someone go look at it because you would never want to buy a property without looking at it. You got to look at it and take a good survey of be able to resell it. All right. This is a money-making system. Why does it make money? Because we're buying it low and we can sell it for anything we want. It's a margin business. We buy it low and we just get some margin and then resell it again. What if we want to do this all online? You can do it that same way. All right, now this is an important slide. All right, it's this old saying in real estate. It's very old. You make your money when you buy, not when you sell. In the tax defaulted business, we make all our money when we buy at that auction. Now, folks, I'm going to give you a game plan. If you'll follow the game plan, it's a step-by-step process, okay? We're going to buy these properties for pennies on the dollar. If you'll get this part of it right, it's going to be clear sailing for you. I'm telling you, it'll be clear sailing. However, if you don't get this right, what's going to happen is you're going to spin your wheels and you're not going to make the money you deserve. This is why we can make money in this business, is because we're buying at rock bottom dollar at these auctions. Now, do sometimes the prices go high? Yes, they do. I don't know what's going to happen to the auction price, but I know that I can access every county in the United States sitting in your kitchen, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a few minutes. All right, so what am I telling you? You make your money when you buy at the tax auction. These auctions are going to be conducted in every county in the United States. There'll be over 3,000 counties auctioning property. So follow me along, and it says right on the slide. If you get this right, you're going to have a nice, smooth business, clear sailing, just like the ship you see there. But if you get it wrong, you're going to be like on a hamster wheel. You're going to be spinning your wheels, and guess what? You'll only make a fraction of what you want. So what you want to do is you want to be able to make big money. So we're going to make our big money by buying low and then selling low. And who's going to buy it? Fixer-upper people, people that want to do renovations, people that want to sell them as flippers. A lot of people want to buy these properties at a bargain. Why don't we service those people? They're all looking for properties. I see them at my events all the time because they're all looking for deals. We can get all the deals we want at tax defaulted auctions. All right, my point is you can make $25,000, $50,000, even $100,000. Why? Because we're buying it right. We're buying it right. So let me show you other students, including myself. I buy these properties at auction. I do this business. Why? Because I can get auction bargains. Now, do I get them for 10 cents on the dollar? Not necessarily. I'm willing to pay much more than that. I only care about the margin. I care about the margin, and that's what you can. So you're going to be shocked when you see some of these students buying for 15, 20, 30 cents on the dollar and reselling quickly and making a nice profit. Nice profit. Okay, this is a system. It's a step-by-step system. It's just like a roadmap. All right. Now, it's not a GPS. It's a roadmap. It's step by step by step. And if you'll follow it, I'll show you what's going to happen right now. So this young woman does not live in the United States. She learned it here in the United States, but now she lives in Central America. Matter of fact, she lives in San Jose, Costa Rica. But she knows how to buy online. We're going to teach you how to buy online. Okay, and then she has someone in the States look at the property for her. Now, she does not work full-time. You don't want to work full-time, so keep your job. Don't quit your job. Keep your job. This is part-time work. You're going to work 5, 10 hours maximum a week, but you're going to make full-time money. As you're going to see, you're going to make full-time money. So what does she do? She got the list for Los Angeles. Now, I want to give you some idea of a list for Los Angeles. Okay, I'm holding in my hand a list for Los Angeles. This is a long list, all right? There's a brochure, and there's over 100 pages in this brochure of properties to sell in Los Angeles. All right, so she's going to buy in Los Angeles, but she's going to do it online, okay? All right, so she stays at home, raises her family. Her top bid was $14,000, but the tax assessed value was $200,000. Let's listen and see what folks, they're living the kind of life they want to live, and they're making the kind of money they want. All right, now, once again, these properties come with no mortgage and no deed of trust loan, okay? The county treasurer wipes those encumbrances off the property. It's the law in every single state. Now, a few deals like that are going to make you feel pretty darn secure. Now, let's think about this. Is she going out and commuting to work? Is she getting all dressed up fancy? Does she need a lot of money? Folks, she didn't need a lot of money, but she's going to make a lot of money. And is she living where she wants to live? The point is, once you learn how to do this, you can learn any way you want where there's an internet connection and there's an American bank that'll work with you. That's all you need to do. All right, now, it's a simple business. You can buy low and sell low. I didn't say it was easy. I said it was a simple business. You can buy low and sell low. You are going to have to do some work. I believe in wholesaling the properties out. Some people like to do lots of fix up when they do it. All right, I like to make sure that I'm going to be able to do what? I want to make sure that I can sell it and sell it quickly. Now, let me show you someone else that's outside the United States. All right, this man lives in Regina, Saskatchewan. Now, Saskatchewan's a big province in Canada. All right, now the top of that map in Saskatchewan is the Arctic Circle. The bottom of it is the United States. All right, this guy lives in Regina, Saskatchewan. That's spelled with an R. So all you guys that like to joke around, it's spelled with R-E-G. So get this. This guy wants to buy in the States because his rental business is caving in because of all the government regulations they had. So I taught him, I said, here's what I think you should do. You should start out by buying residential lots. In other words, find a subdivision that has a lot that's coming up for auction. He said, okay. All right. Now, what he wants to do is he wants to just buy properties and resell them. He does not want to own the properties long-term, not a long-term investment. Now, I told you he's in Regina, Saskatchewan, and he decided he wanted to buy in the Los Angeles basin, and he picked Riverside County. All right. Now, before he did a lot of work, he went and had brokers look at these properties. All right. The ones that he liked that he was going to buy, he found them online. We showed him. Then he had brokers tell him what the value was, take pictures of it. In other words, he wanted to sell those properties quickly. So let's look and see what happened. He did all of this from his basement office. All right. So we're looking for low risk, big reward, residential vacant lot. All right. Now, he bought in Riverside County. The prices there, I'd have to say, are sky high. This is a residential lot in a subdivision. The property value is $229,000. I didn't establish that value. The treasurer did. All right. But he's going to buy it at auction. And he's looking for a deal, and he made a deal at 15 cents on the dollar. So he spent $35,000. My system is buy it low. Let's see how quickly we can sell it. So you got those same brokers to go out and start working on selling of it. Within 30 days, He sold it and made a $20,000 profit. Folks, I'm not talking about how much money he could have made. What he did is he proved the system would work, and he did it in a low-risk environment. So he bought online. He bought a residential lot. It had a high value. He got rid of it quickly, made himself $20,000. Let's listen to hear what he had to say. Now, think about what he said. He said he sold it in 4 days. Folks, how long does it take to sell a property? 1 month, 2 months, whatever it's going to take. He sold in 4 days. Why? Because the property was worth about $400,000. About $400,000, and he sold it for $280,000. Yes, he left money on the table, but you already saw how much money he's going to make. What are we talking about here? We're talking about a business that someone's sitting at home in another country buying property. Look at this property. He sold it for $280,000 and he bought it for $130,000. All right. I don't know where you are in the spectrum of money. Maybe you only have $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000. But folks, look at what's available in these auctions. All right. Now he can give it up and not do anything. But let me just show you one more example. His last words, he said he never left his basement office. He's doing this online. So let's take a look at his numbers. The value, you heard him say what the realtor said, he didn't even try to get that. He just wanted to get rid of the property. He paid a nice sum for it, $177,000. He sold it, made himself another $100,000. My point is, you can do this. You can do it online or you can do it offline. Okay, there's going to be plenty of auctions. They're taking place across the United States. Okay, is every deal a great deal like you're seeing? Well, of course not. But how many auctions do you have to go to make this kind of money in the end of a year and start feeling pretty good? I don't know that every property is going to look like that. Folks, ask yourself the question, would this work for you? If it would, you probably want to start thinking about whether this is a good time to get started. Let me do a quick review. Tax liens and deeds, I love that business. Why? Because these are fixed rates of return. So if you're a conservative investor, you want to use it for your IRA or your little old lady, or you're like me, you got a lot of that gray hair, you want to be very conservative. Well, guess what? Tax liens and certificates are perfect, okay? They're predictable, they're certain, and they're secure. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, we don't buy any junk. I'm not interested in junk. I won't teach you to buy that stuff. That's not a fixer-upper. That one's going to cost you a lot of money just to clean the lot off. You don't want to do those kind of property. You want to buy good, decent property. Now, I don't get on here and brag about myself, but I'm going to tell you, I buy these properties, and I don't necessarily get them for 10 cents on the dollar. There's a property that I bought for 35 cents on the dollar because I'm interested in the margin from my price to what I can sell it for. If there's a big margin, I want in on that deal because there's no mortgage, there's no deed of trust. Now, that's not a junker property by any means. Look at those 75-foot trees. That's got a big circular driveway in the front. Here's a quick picture of the inside after I cleaned it up. Folks, these properties are available at auction. I'll show you a couple more. Look at this one. It's on a lake. All right. I don't get these properties for 10 cents on the dollar. So every deal is not a steal. But they are a steal if I can buy a $200,000 property and I can get it for $60,000 or $70,000. I can tell you right now, I'm buying that property, okay? Other people don't want to do that, but I sure do. All right, now is every property a perfect one? No. This one's on 5 acres. I paid less than 20 cents on the dollar on this one. All right, that lake in the front has got a stream, and in the stream, there's beavers in there, there's deer in the back. Look at the wooded area behind it, 5 acres of land. You can see what the inside looked up after we finished. Folks, I'm buying on margin. You want big deals? There's plenty of these big deals out there. Here's one that came with too much. This one came with 12 acres of land. People don't want 12 acres because they're going to have to maintain it. So I subdivided, just cut it. I kept 7 acres and gave the guy, I kept 5 acres, he kept 7. And again, spent 40 cents on the dollar, 35, 40 cents on the dollar. Look at the inside. Folks, everywhere we go, there are these deals. Some people are getting properties for 20 cents on the dollar. I'm not afraid to pay more because I'm looking for the margin. Look, if I can get it for this and the property's worth that, that's what I want to do. So you're kind of getting the idea. Now, look, you guys are watching a webinar. And if you tell your friends about this webinar, I'm not suggesting you do that. Why? Because nobody can believe what we're really doing. Now, if you go out and tell your friend that you saw someone buying a property and getting a 90% discount, your friend is going to say, no, that's not happening. So they're going to disparage you. They're going to say to you, you're crazy. It's a scheme. Folks, it's not a scheme. I have already showed you people that are doing this. You have been sitting here watching me. And guess what? You saw Risha and you saw the Davis family. They had a 94% discount. Ask yourself this question. If you could get a 94% discount, would you be able to make money? All right, we just looked at our young lady, Velez. and she's down there in San Jose, Costa Rica. She got a 93% discount. Why can we do all that? Because number one, we can get you access. We can get you to all 3,000 counties in the United States. All right, so let's go to another state. You want to go to? Let's go to Michigan. Let's take a look. There's a subdivision. This is a subdivision that didn't get finished. The ones that are finished are on the left side. Brand new buildings. Look at these buildings. These are beautiful properties, $150,000, $200,000. All right. And the contractor, the builder, the developer went broke. So look on the right side. That's the other side of the subdivision. All those lots, look, really squint at that slide. You see everything that's outlined in red. Those properties went back to tax auction. My client, who I'm going to show you a picture of in a minute, all right, what did the client do? The client bought those properties for $200 to $800 each. Those lots are worth $20,000, $25,000, maybe even more, thousands of dollars. He's buying for $800 or $900. I don't know what you're going to get to the auction, but here's what I do know. This guy, doing just what I'm telling him to do, bought 60 properties in the last 6 years. And here's the beauty of what he did. Because he was doing it in Michigan, he could do it using credit cards. He bought all of those properties using credit cards. And as he sold the properties off, he paid off the credit cards. Folks, you could go to Texas, which I talked about earlier. In 2 days, you could make $25,000. Okay. How about if you go to Georgia? Georgia was my favorite state. You can make 20% in 10 days. If you bought the certificate today and they paid you off in 10 days, guess what? 20%. Where are you going to make these kind of profit? Now, I know there's a lot of people out there. You're doing fixer-upper property. You like fixer-uppers? Well, watch this woman. She likes to do fixer-upper properties and rentals. She loves the rental business. All right, I understand that. A lot of women want to be in the rental business. Why? Because they want steady income. And I get that. All right. So I don't know where you are in the scale of things, but you're going to be the judge and the jury. Important. Now, I'm going to ask you to make note of 3 questions that we're going to ask this woman. Okay. What did she pay for the property? Okay. What did she rent it for? And then finally, what's the value of the property? All right. I'd like you to listen to this video, and then you can write these down as you hear her say them. And then I'll give you the analytics on it, and you'll see how good this business really is. Here she is. Folks, let's take a look at this if you're a rental person, because you're really going to love this. So we know what she paid. She paid $11,000. Okay. Well, what was the value? Well, she'd like to think 80, but she had an offer for 40, so it's really worth 40, isn't it? So she paid 25 cents on the dollar. I'm sure you'd be happy with no mortgage and no deed of trust that you could buy a property for $40,000. All right. So if you could buy that for $11,000, you're basically getting 25 cents on the dollar. Now, that's a pretty good purchase price. All right, now let's think about what is her return on investment on this property? What is the return? Now, if you put money in the bank, you're going to get a return of maybe 3%. So if you put $11,000 in the bank, you're probably going to make $300 or $400. But she didn't do that. She put $11,000 into this property, but she's going to get a monthly payment, isn't she? So what's her monthly payment? Her monthly payment, or annual payment, is going to be $9,000. So let me say that again. She took her $11,000. She invested in the property. She's going to get $750 a month. That's $11,000. What's the return on investment? In the bank, it's about 3%. All right. I don't know if 3% is a great return, but I can tell you, I think 9,000 is a great return. So what does that come out on ROI? Well, that comes out to be about an 80% ROI. Who do you know is making 80% ROI on rental property? Everybody's getting rental property and they've got negative cash flow. Well, a negative cash flow is not an 80% return. What's my point? Women love this because they get income. So just look at my slide. On the bottom, it shows you if she just keeps the property and never raises the rent, she'll have made herself a bundle of dough and she'll still own the property. All right. So my question to you is, did she get her money's worth? Well, she sure did, and make money. I know you want to stay. You're going to need 5 to 10 focused hours a week. Now, I said focused, no watching YouTube videos, no visiting with the family. You're going to have to focus. This takes 5 focused hours a week. All right. Now, this gentleman is a newspaper editor in Georgia. All right. He never had any experience, so I taught him how to do the business. All right. He wants to buy in the state of Georgia. All right. So he's sitting there with his computer, and watch what happened to him. Folks, this guy's a preacher. He's a minister. He works in the Georgia prison system, volunteering his time. He teaches Christianity, and he also teaches Islam in the prison, donates his time. Never did a property before. Here's the first one he bought. He bought the first property. When you see what he pays for it, you're just not going to believe it, but he did it. He bought this property. Now, I don't know what it's worth. It could be worth $30,000, $50,000. I don't know what it's worth, but I can tell you this is what he paid for that property. This is what he paid. Now, this is a rentable small home where people were living in it. Okay, you had to ask them to leave because they lost the property at tax auction. All right, what's his risk? $326. $326. All right, so what did he do next? Well, he wanted to do something with it. So I said, why don't you go ahead and sell it? He said, no, I don't want to sell it. I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, why don't I rent it? I said, well, okay, go ahead and rent it. He said, what are you going to rent it for? I said, well, I don't know. I'm in Florida. I don't know what the rental in that neighborhood is. So he went around and checked the neighbors. Sure enough, he checked the neighbors and they told him he could rent this property for $700. Now think about it. He paid $326, and guess what? He could rent it for as much as $700. Well, a young guy came walking down the street, knocked on his door and said, I just got married. My dad gave me $6,000. I'll give you $6,000, not to buy it. I'll give you $6,000 if you'll let me rent it all year. He called me up. He said, is it legal for me to rent it? You've never done a deal before. I said, did you get a deed? He said, yes, I have a deed. I said, if you got a deed, go ahead and rent it. You own the property. That's exactly what he did. There's the numbers, folks. He paid $326, spent a little money fixing it up, and he got a $6,000 check. Look at the profit. Now, folks, let me be serious for a second. I don't know if you'll ever get a property for $300. I never got a property for $300. But here's what I do know. And here's what you need to plant in the back of your head. Do you know anybody that's done that? Well, I don't. But I do know this. If you don't get in the game, you're not going to be able to do it. Now, let me do this before I finish. Folks, we're online today. The online people, I don't know if they all have integrity. I just don't know, because there's a lot of worthless training out there. There's nothing worthless about this. This is high intensity training. The internet is full of people that might take your money. We're not going to take your money. I'll guarantee we're not going to take your money, because here's what I'm going to do. And you should keep this in the back of your mind. Don't take anybody's products unless they'll give you a written guarantee. If you're going to buy a home study course, you want to make sure you're getting a written guarantee. Now, I don't joke around about this. I make sure that I'm serious. And I tell people, you just follow the rules and you'll be okay, but we're going to give you a written guarantee. And there it is. I'm going to issue that to you and I'm going to sign it, because I'll guarantee it. Watch what my guarantee is. I'm going to give you my guarantee right now. You can't find anyone that'll do a guarantee like I'm going to. So reading on the first line, if you can't find tax lien certificates in the next 60 days after getting my material, I'll have the people in my office find 5 tax lien certificates where you can learn 10 to 15%. I'll have someone in my office do it for you. There it is. It's in writing. All right. Well, some of you don't want tax certificates. You want to buy tax defaulted property? This is the world's best guarantee. You're looking at it. I'll guarantee that you're going to be able to, if you can't get a tax defaulted property, the ones you want, I'll have the people in my office locate the property for you. Now, they're not going to put the money up for you. They're not going to do any of that, but they'll help you if you have trouble locating it. So we're serious investors. We want to make sure that you're successful. This program is called Retire Rich from Home, and you're really going to learn a lot in this lesson. All right, now I want to cover a few things that help you solve some problems before we get started. But believe me, we're going to really drill deep on this lesson, so you might want to get a pencil and paper. Now, I want to go through a couple of things and check and see where you are in your life right now, which I think is important for all of you. Okay, now, does this sound like you? You're kind of anxious. You're worried about what your family's going to be able to do in the future. Are you going to earn enough money? Are you going to be okay financially? Well, I'm going to show you you're not going to have to worry about these things, because I'm going to give you some solutions. Now, a lot of people, look what you see here. They're frustrated. They're worried about their loved ones. They're worried about working too hard. And they're more than worried about not having enough pay. So let's see if we can figure some of this out and give you some solutions. So if you're constantly juggling money, you're going to absolutely love this particular lesson. And we're talking about tax defaulted property. Now, if any of this sounds like you that we've talked about, I have a lot of good news for you. So I'm going to give you that good news right now. All right. I have money solutions. I provide people with solutions. I've been doing this for well over 30 years. and you're really going to enjoy what you learn during the next hour and 15 minutes or so. All right. Now, what we're going to do is tell you about some complete training so that when you finish this training, what's going to happen with you is you're going to have complete control of your life. Now, I know what you're here for. You're here because you want financial security. You want income security. I get that. So let me give you some confidence, some security, and show you a step-by-step way to do all that. So kind of follow along with me. Write notes when you can. Pay attention because you're going to get some really dynamite information. Now, I know why you're here. You want to control your day. You want to do what you want. You want to do that when you want to do it. I know all that. So how about if we show you how to depend on you and not depend on anybody else? Now, I've been able to travel and do a lot of things because I've been in this business. Now, as a result of this business, I've been able to go all over the world teaching people about it because they wanted to buy in the United States. One of the trips I made more recently was to Bangkok, Thailand. Now, this happens to be just south of Bangkok, Thailand, in the ocean, of course, at a place called Pleiku. And I wanted to go there and do just what you see going on. I always wanted to go there and go in the water and then stay a little shack like that. Well, I didn't do it because when I got there, I found out I was right close to the China border. And on the China border, there was a town called Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is famous worldwide for tigers, Bengal tigers. I got to go spend a whole day in different cages with different Bengal tigers. Believe me, I had a trainer with me the whole time. I won't tell you about that story now, but when we get to know each other, I'll tell you more about that. Well, lots of people want to travel. A lot of people want to do things. Now, this couple started with me a short time ago. And when they started, what they wanted to do is they both had good jobs. They've both been working the same job for almost 30 years. They said, Ted, we want to travel. Before we get any gray hair, we want to travel. Now, I'm suspect they already had gray hair, but anyway, they wanted to travel, and they wanted to do it on their terms when they wanted. Now, where do they want to travel? They wanted to travel to the Rocky Mountains. Then they want to go to Yellowstone. They want to go to Idaho. They want to go places like that. And then during the summer months, they wanted to drive up into Canada and go to the big parks in Alberta. And so everybody kind of wants to have a trip like that. Maybe you're a person that wants to make a trip to say, France, and then drive a car down through the Swiss Alps and go see things, little bungalows down there around Florence and Rome and whatever. Everybody has those kind of things you want to do. Well, are you going to be able to afford it? Are you going to have the money together? Or are you going to get too old and not be able to do it? So here they had a job. They both had good jobs, but they wanted to do something different. And actually they did. So watch what they did once they learned how to do defaulted property. They found out tax defaulted auctions are in all 3,000 counties. That means they could travel to every single county and do tax defaulted property. Listen to this. Folks, $39,000. I don't know about you, but around my house, $39,000 would pay one heck of a lot of bills. So think about that. If you can make $39,000 on one property, what would you do? You'd pay off a bunch of bills. You still have money left over for your retirement account. You're getting the idea. This is the kind of thing that works that people do when they learn how to buy tax defaulted property. Now, we've been through some massive changes over this past couple of years. Now, we went through all that COVID thing. That really slowed things down. But prior to COVID, everything was already changing. And it was all changing for the better. So where you're sitting right now is important because what you're doing is you're looking at a computer. This computer and the internet changed the whole ballgame. And I mean, it changed to our advantage. So I've been doing this same business for over 30 years. Now, some of the students, I watch them go through the training and they move along really quickly. Now, who's moving along really quickly? It turns out that the new students are moving faster than the old timers that already knew about real estate. So I started watching that. Now, when I say the old timers, I don't mean people that were retired already. They're just people that had learned a lot about real estate that weren't up to date on computers and the internet and doing things online. So I was really surprised to find the successful students doing a little bit better than the old timers. So I started watching what they were doing. Now, when I say they were doing better, these young people and people who were just getting started, what was happening to them? They were able to do 3, 4, 5, 6 deals a year, whereas my old timers who really knew the real estate, they're able to do 2. Now, the people that were doing 2 were just happy. They weren't unhappy, but now there was a new way to do it. So I didn't know all the new ways myself. So what I did is I started looking at what the top students were doing. What were they doing? and I started implementing the same process they were doing. And read that slide now. What does it say? I discovered a huge breakthrough. And the breakthrough is right there in front of you, because everything can be done. I'm going to show you this. Everything can be done online today if you want to sit where you're sitting right now. And before we finish this lesson today, you're going to see many things just like that. It's absolutely shocking how much this has changed and how much is better for the people that want to learn how to do that. So I realized, I didn't know what they all were. I realized there was some transitions taking place, some shifting in the market, and who was doing best, who was doing well. The young people that were just getting started, that didn't have real estate experience, they were shifting and they were making an extra $20,000, $30,000 a deal because they could do it all much quicker and they could do a lot of it online. So what really happened was there was a financial breakthrough taking place right before my eyes, and now it's going to take place before your eyes. So I'm going to give you a game plan. I'm going to show you how to improve your income dramatically, and I'm going to show you how to do that with small amounts of money, but we'll be able to make it into big amounts of money. Now, when I say small amounts of money, everyone thinks about real estate and said, oh, I'm going to need a lot of money. I'm going to show you with a small amount of money that if you do the process and the step-by-steps that I'm going to teach you how to do today, when you learn these steps and you do them, you're going to make some significant amount of money. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you're going to retire by next Friday. That's not going to happen. But I am going to tell you this is the way to make money that's continuous. There's over 3,000 counties in the United States. There's going to be over 5,000 tax defaulted auction. And 99% of the people you talk to, they won't even know what you're talking about. And so this is happening every day across America. What do you need to do it? Well, first of all, you need a lot of new skills. All the skills you need, I'm going to give you those. But you got a laptop. You might be on one right now. A laptop. I know you've got a smartphone, and I'm sure you got some comfortable clothes. That's all it's going to take. You don't have to build a big business downtown. You don't have to get a franchise. You can do this from your kitchen table. All of this can be done from your home. All you need is internet connections, and there's all what you need right there on the screen. Now, you've got to change your mind, okay? The thing that I struggle with is get people to think about don't think about $5,000 or $10,000. I want you to start thinking $25,000, $50,000, $100,000. Now, that's not crazy because that's what I teach when I teach people to do property. You want to make at least $25,000, $35,000, even up to $50,000, even $100,000. So think to yourself, what would happen? Now, really give this a little bit of thought before I go to the next slide. How would you feel if you made an extra $25,000? How would you feel if you made an extra $50,000? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to show you that step-by-step process so that you can do that, and you can do that online, and you can think about doing that from home. Now, on my first video, I mentioned that what's really taking place is that women really like this business. Now, why do they like the business? Because I teach people, buy it low, sell it low, move on to the next property. Buy it low, make a nice margin of profit, but sell it lower than the market and move on to the next profit. All right, what does that require you to do that? It requires what you see on the screen. You don't have to have any tools. You don't have to have a pickup truck. You don't have to have all that. Now, I know a lot of guys are disappointed because I'm not telling them they got to get a pickup truck, but I'm telling you, you can do this from home and you can do it without getting a lot of equipment and spending a lot of money. So I'm going to take you through some of that in a step-by-step fashion so you get it, so you understand it. Now, can I teach you every detail I would in a class? No, but I can teach you a lot of details, enough so that you'll get it. And if you'll get it, you'll see what a future there is in this kind of business. So I'm going to give you a game plan. If you'll follow the game plan, I can tell you you'll be successful. I'm past 30 years of teaching people. I said past 30 years of teaching people. When I started all this, I had black hair. I used to be skinny. Well, that was some time ago. I still teach people how to do this, but I'm going to give you a game plan, and all you have to do is follow it. Now, here's the key. Here's the key. If you don't have any other thing written down today, write this down. You make your money when you buy, not when you sell. You make your money when you buy at the tax defaulted auction, not when you sell. Now, if you can get this part of it right, you're going to have smooth sailing. I mean, this is really going to work. If you can get this one thing right, buying at the auction, you're not going to have any trouble selling because we buy it low. We don't try to get retail. We just try to get a nice margin out of the whole thing. And I'm going to tell you, if you can do this right at the auction, you'll be able to make money incrementally as long as you want. Now, if you don't get it right, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle and only make a fraction of the money that you want to make. So stay with me. This is why you can make up to $100,000 a deal, because these tax properties are discounted by the county. They just want to get rid of them. So we're going to buy these properties as low as we can. Does that mean you're always going to get them for 10 and 20 cents on the dollar? No. Sometimes we pay 30, 40, even 50 cents on the dollar. But what does it matter as long as we got a great margin that we can resell the property? We're going to cover some of that as we go along today. All right, so let me repeat what I said earlier. If you get this right, buying at the auction, it's going to be clear sailing. Now read the bottom of the slide. You don't want to be struggling. You want to make big money, all right? So you will be struggling if you miss that one very important part, and you'll only make a fraction. So I want to make sure you make big money. All right, now we can expect on a tax property to make $25,000, $50,000, and in many cases, and you'll see that before you finish the workshop today. Before you finish today, you're going to see that you can make up to $100,000, and we have people doing it all the time. So you're going to be kind of shocked when you see my students buying properties 10, 15, 20 cents, all the way up to 35 cents on the dollar, but they still have plenty of margin to resell it and make money quickly. So the whole thing is just buy the properties right. If you can do that, you're going to be okay. Now, how are you going to do this? It's all going to happen on your laptop. You don't ever have to leave home. Now, I love to go to the auction, so I'm going to teach you. If you can, let's go to the auction. I want to go to a physical auction. Now, many times the auctions will be physical, or you can stand there and actually bid. At the same time, they'll be online. So I try to do both, okay? If I can go there, look at the property, have my boots on the ground and so on, then I might come home and do the auction right from home. So you can do it both ways. I love the auction because then I can see who I'm bidding against, not because I want to see the person. I want to see how much they're going to bid and see if I can get a better deal. So there's both ways to buy it, and you'll be able to do both. And later on, I'll have one of my facilitators show you what it's like to go to an auction online. All right, so what is this? This is an alternative investment. All right, now there's all kinds of people out there struggling with investment. Now we're going through kind of a turmoil in the economy right now. So the market goes up, the market goes down, the market goes up. It's a lot of cycles. So people have been losing money in stocks. They haven't done very well with their bonds, mutual funds. There's all kinds of things. Some people buy crypto. What happened to crypto? That's up and down. All right, so I like to buy where I'm assured of what I'm going to do. So if I know if I buy it at a certain price and I know the market is a certain price, then I know I've got all that margin to work it. That makes me feel great, and that's going to make you feel great when you can buy low and have plenty of room to sell it with margin and then be able to sell it quickly because you're way under the marketplace. You're going to do it. All right, now let me give you an example of that. All right, so this example will be someone online. So this young woman approached me and she said, look, I'd like to do this, but I live in Canada. Can I do this online? I said, yes, we can do the whole thing online. So any of the English-speaking countries where they can get a dollar account, you can do this. So there's people in the United Kingdom that do it. There's people in Singapore that do it. It doesn't matter where you are as long as you get a dollar account. So people in Mexico City do it. All right, so she wanted to buy online. So that's what we'll do. Now, why did she want to buy online? Because as she was learning it, she realized that the tax collector would set a price. However, when it's sold at auction, the treasurer would start the bidding at 60%, 70%, 80% below the auction price, below the assessed value. Now, if you can buy a property 60, 70, 80% below the market, that's going to be pretty darn good. So she got online and she started looking around. Now, where did she look? Well, she started getting auction brochures, which you could get online if you want, or you could call and they print them. So I'm going to show you a couple of those right now. So this happens to be an auction that's coming up in just a couple of weeks. It's got over 1,000 properties in it. I'm just flipping the pages for you. Over 1,000 properties. This happens to be one of the auctions they'll have in Los Angeles County. It's not a California auction. It's a Los Angeles County auction. There's over 1,000 properties there. They'll all start at the back taxes. Okay, here's another brochure from a state in New York. Same kind of thing. What county have I got here? This is Dutchess County, which I know happens to be just north of New York City. Same kind of thing. She got an auction brochure so she can start looking at this, okay? So they're going to show you pictures. They're going to show you a lot in those brochures. You can go get those online yourself if you want to. I'll show you other brochures that are much bigger than that I have here on my desk. All right, here's a whole newspaper absolutely full of tax lien certificates that they're going to sell. So she started online and she started looking. And she found a place in Florida she wanted to buy. All right, now, she's in Canada. She's going to buy online. Well, you shouldn't buy a property unless you look at it. I mean, after all, you wouldn't marry the woman, or you ladies wouldn't marry the guy unless you'd seen him. Well, you don't want to be the same way about your property. You don't want to buy a property unless you've seen it. So how's she going to see it? So we solved that problem, and we did that quickly. Now, there's people that will go look for you, and I'm going to have whole classes on just looking at the property. Before we finish this workshop today, you'll have a whole class. But let me go through it quickly so you kind of understand. All right. She wants to buy because she realizes her leverage is on her side. What's the leverage? She's going to be able to buy for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar. However, the property's going to be discounted a lot. So what she did is she had someone go look at the property. She knew she needed boots on the ground, someone to look at the property. So who was that going to be? Well, she looked in the brochure. She had an address, and she figured out just by the address and by looking at the map that it was a mobile home park. Now, 90% of the world is going to say, don't buy in a mobile home park because maybe it's not in good condition. Well, why don't we do what we train people to do? And that's what she did. I said, make sure someone looks at the property. So that's exactly what she did. She called that mobile home park and she found someone that lived there. It just happened to be the manager. The manager lived in the mobile home park. She said, can you give me a look at the property in the park? And he said, yes. And so the manager walked down to the property and took a picture of it. So this was a nice area. This is a nice mobile home park. Properties are good, well-maintained. Everything's clean and nice. At the same time, the manager could tell her about any other properties that had sold. But we didn't want her to take anybody's word for it. So we taught her how to check the comparables. She could do that on a multiple listing. She could look them up on the county. She could use a GIS mapping system. Look on the bottom of the screen, Zillow, multiple listings. There's lots of ways. So pretty quick, she figured out what that property was worth. And it was worth $75,000 or $80,000. And when, in fact, when the manager went there, he said, I've got a key. I'll open it up. Now, this is an auction property. The person had passed away. Nobody had been in the property since she had passed away. He opened the door and he looked in. He called her up and told her the property's fully furnished. Now, I don't know if you're ever going to get one fully furnished, but I'm going to tell you this lady did. All right, so this is the nice area she's buying in. She's doing this online from Canada. She's getting a huge discount. All right, let's find out how much did she invest. She said she'd start out with $25,000. All right, now we already know it's worth $70,000. So would you spend $25,000 for $70,000? Well, I sure would. That's enough room for me. So I would do that all day long. Well, the marketplace out there said, don't buy mobile homes. But she went boots on the ground. She checked it out. She had someone else check it out. She bought the property. You're darn right. I want you to be successful. Now, every one of you could be doing the same thing. Now, I thought she was going to buy it, which is what I teach, and sell it. But to some people, they do what they want to do. And many women are really concerned about security. If you remember when we started, she only wanted to try and make 5% on her money. So she wanted to buy online and make 5%. But what happened when she rented it for $10,000 per year. That wasn't bad. That was a 40% return. Now, folks, where are you going to make a 40% return in this market? If you go to the bank, you'd be lucky to get 5%. You buy treasuries, you'd be lucky to get 5%. She's going to make a 40% return renting the property. Plus, she already knows she's got a profit. She bought it for 25. Well, 24.5. She bought it for 25,000. She could sell it for 70 because she already knew what the property is worth. What's the point I'm making? The point I'm making is you could do the same thing, but more importantly, she didn't have a lot of money. She actually had money, but she only wanted to invest a little, see how she could do. Well, if she sold the property and she sold it for 70,000, well, she would double her money. But if she doesn't sell it and she just rents it, what is she going to end up with in just 20 years? She's going to end up with $200,000. The point is, you can start small. Now, I didn't say you could start with $50, but you could start small and you could take it from there. So this is happening across America. Ask yourself the question on the screen. Would that work for you? Would it be something that you should learn how to do it? I'm only showing you teeny tiny glimpses of the spectacular income that's possible. That's a lot of income in less than a year on one property. And she had alternatives. She could rent it if she wanted to, or she could sell it and make herself not only her $25,000 back, but make another $25,000 on top of it, or maybe even make $50,000 on top of it. Either way, she was going to be able to make a lot of money. If you do the math, you'll figure out I've been conservative. Folks, this is a business that works, and it will work for you. You have more of that because we got plenty of time today. Now, this guy is a student that worked with me for a while, and he wanted to buy with his credit cards. Now, this is as crazy as it's going to get, but it actually works. So 2 of the states actually promote that they will sell you a property using your credit card. So let's write those down right now so you got them in your notes. Give you a good lesson here. The lesson is this: Michigan and New York. This guy likes Michigan because he lives there. He did over 60 deals in 6 years. I'm going to show you what he did. But the overall, what I'm trying to teach you today is it doesn't take big money to make big money, but it does take training to understand that with little money, if you do all the things right, you can do well. Now, why do we do well? Because I'm not competing with the rest of the real estate market. I only do tax defaulted property. Why? Because there's 5,000 auctions this year. A lot of people don't even know about it. I can do it online. I can do it offline. I can go and visit the properties. When I learned this 30 years ago, I never looked back. I never looked back because there's always an abundance of these properties. I showed you a brochure a few minutes ago. This is just one of the auctions that's going to take place in Los Angeles this year. Over 1,000 properties. 1,000 properties are going to sell, starting bid the back taxes. Here's one in New York, and how many is that? This is 166 in one county. Folks, this is a business of abundance. Let's learn how to make money, and let's not have to put up big money. Let's use small amounts of money, and let's grow it. Okay, so this is Bill. He does this. He's been a student. Now, full disclosure, he now works for me as a coach. Why? Because he could teach you how to do this as my other coaches could too. All right, so using a credit card, he purchased the properties I'm going to show you now. So I want you to get the lesson, and the lesson is this. He's going to buy tax defaulted property at auction. Now, the auctions in Michigan, there's 67 counties. All the counties are going to have auctions, and it happens, generally speaking, in the latter part of the summer. I can't give you exact dates, but I'll show you how you can get all the dates of these auctions before I finish here today. All right, so this is a residential property. Now, tax defaulted properties are used and abused. It doesn't look like a brand new property. Well, of course not. If someone has abandoned the property, they didn't pay the tax, so the tax man has confiscated it. Now the tax man wants to get rid of it. So you can see the grass isn't well taken care of, the bushes aren't too well taken care of. That roof, I'd be kind of questioning, might have a leak, so you might want to check on that. All right, what about the garage? I can see some things out there, a lot of stuff growing. All right, so it's not bad. All right, so he heads over to the auction. Using his credit card, he purchased the property for $6,200. Now, folks, where are you going to get a house for $6,200? Now, here's the beauty of the auction. At the auction, they wipe out the deed of trust and they wipe out the mortgage. Now, there could be municipal liens if they have any, or there could be federal liens. They don't wipe those out. But the mortgage and the deed of trust are gone. So now he has the property basically free and clear for $6,200. So what is he going to do with it? Well, he's going to do what we teach him to do, and we teach him to use media and market. By that, I mean, put a sign in the ground, put a sign around the neighborhood, tell all the real estate clubs about it, tell all the neighbors about it, and then put it on Craigslist, put it on the MLS system, put it on Zillow, put it on Trulia. You're getting the idea. Put it on Facebook Marketplace. What's going to happen? Well, you're going to get a lot of traffic. All right. He sold the property for $30,000, and you can see his profit. Now, everyone that's watching me is saying, oh, that's a piece of cake. Well, it is a piece of cake. But let me show you what you haven't seen. What you haven't seen is what you're going to see next. All right. So we already have heard this today. Conventional thinking says, make a lot of money. You need a lot of money to make a lot of money. Well, you're going to find out he only put $6,000 up. And what he did when he sold it on what we call a contract of sale. All right, a contract of sale is not a regular real estate contract. It's a contract that says, I'll sell to you and you can make me payments. I'll sell to you and you can make payment. Now, it's just like an installment contract. When you bought a refrigerator, you made payments. That's an installment contract. When you buy a car, you make payments. Well, how about if we make payments on the house? That's exactly what he did. Make payments on that house. So there's plenty of eager buyers that need payments. Why do those people need payments? Well, first of all, the banks don't like to finance properties that are under $100,000. They would prefer to have $100,000 up so they can do the paperwork once and get paid for 30 years. So traditional lenders probably don't like a lot of these properties that we do at tax auction, but we don't care because we can sell them on a contract and collect payments. Now, when we sell on a contract, we don't sell it and give them the deed. We say, we'll give you the deed after you finish paying us. We'll give you the deed when you finish paying us. So 25% of all the buyers that are out there for these houses have already been rejected by the bank. Now, why are they rejected? You know why they're rejected, because they had a poor FICO score. Poor score on FICO means you can't get it. Now, that doesn't mean they were bad people. A lot of these people have a good job. They're good people, but they've been through a divorce. Or maybe they had bad illness in the family. Maybe they just been on hard times and lost their job. So those people are going to, but if they ever got a good job, guess what? We're going to be able to finance them. So here's what Bill did. Read the top line first. It said, Bill purchased the property for $6,200. He sold it for $30,000. Now look what he got. He got a down payment and he got monthly payments. Well, Ted, you already told me this. That's right. $23,000 profit, except now he's going to get payments for the next 10 years. So you decide what you want. Do you want the $23,000? Well, that's fine. So you're happy with that. But over 10 years, you could get $40,000. What I'm talking about is a small amount of money suddenly became a big amount of money. Small amount of money got to be a big amount of money. Anybody could do exactly what I'm showing you now. This is not unusual. This guy did 60 properties in 6 years. 60. Let's look at another one. Same kind of example. Now, this one looks a little better than the last one, doesn't it? Paint looks pretty good. No broken windows. Landscaping needs a little work. Not too bad. Let's see what he pays for this one. So he paid $10,000. Okay? Again, the people came up. He doesn't have to go and get an attorney. He just has a contract. So he can take that out and put it on the hood of the car, and they can sign a contract. He can make a deal right there. Didn't need a broker. But what he did do is he did a lot of media marketing. In other words, he put it on Craigslist. He put it on the MLS system. He put signs out there. He did all that. So he made $20,000 profit. Now, isn't that where I started today? I said, you need to be able to make profits of $25,000, $50,000, $100,000. All right, well, let's see how he does on this one. Finds another poor credit buyer. The buyer's coming and said, look, will you finance me? Well, why not? Because he gives them an installment sale. All right, so they're going to get payments on it. So he paid $10,000. He sold it for $30,000. Now he gets payments of $300 a month for 10 years. What's wrong with that? Well, here's what's good about it. He's going to collect $31,000. Before he was only going to collect $20,000. So the choice is yours. The whole point I'm trying to make here is you don't need a lot of money to be in real estate. What you do need is training so that you know how to do this. And once you know how to do these different things, you can do this on $300,000 houses if you want. You can do them any size you want. I do a lot of smaller ones under the $300,000. Why? Because they end up at tax auction and I can buy them for peanuts. Folks, if I can buy a house for $10,000 and sell it for $30,000, that's a pretty good month where I come from. I can pay a lot of bills with $20,000, and so could you. The point is, this works. It's been working for decades. Now, the rules change. How are you going to know what the rule changed? So whatever I teach you today is what I teach you today. All right, but the rules can change. So we found out that the counties, and there's 3,000 of them, they can change anytime they want because the treasurer can change. So I was at an auction in Kalamazoo, and I hadn't bid yet. I was getting ready to bid. And the auctioneer stood in front of the audience, and he said, folks, any property that doesn't sell, now listen to what I'm going to say because you want to write it down. Any property that doesn't sell today will be sold in 42 days, starting bid $100. And I was just shocked. He said any property that didn't sell that day would be for sale in 42 days. Now, I don't know where the 42 days came from, but he said 42 days, starting bid $100. Now, can you imagine going to an auction with a starting bid of $100? Well, it's happening. It's happening all over the United States. And let me show you what happens. You're going to be shocked at what you see happen. So the auctioneer said, when the auction finished, All right, you can come back in 42 days and we're going to start the auction all over again. Let me show you things that happen at these auctions. Now, I sometimes say to my clients, this is the world of the weird. I don't know what's going to happen because the county is an individual taxing jurisdiction and the treasurer is the most powerful person. They can do anything they want, and they do. If you can find deals at $100 starting bid, do you want to know about it? Well, of course you do. What if the property's worth $50,000 or $100,000 and it starts at $100? Is that a good start? Well, that is. What about other people that don't know about it? A lot of people don't know because they've never been through a class like this, spent their time and effort to do it. All right, so my friend Bill calls and said, Ted, I've got a whole subdivision. Now, folks, can you imagine they're building homes in your neighborhood? Now, while I'm talking, really look at this map. Really look at that. Everything outlined in red is part of the subdivision. Now, you can see where the green lawns are. There's about 6 of them now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 of them people have already bought. But all the rest of them are owned by the developer, and the developer went bankrupt and gave the property back to the county. Now the county's got the property. They don't want the property. They couldn't collect the tax from the developer. He went bankrupt. They couldn't get their money. So they're going to sell these properties with starting bids of $100. Now, I'm not talking about some tacky subdivision. This is a nice subdivision where the lots are worth $30,000. These are the houses that are built there. Would you like to live in a house like that? Well, I've lived in houses that weren't as good as that. I'll tell you that. All right. The houses are built. So this is a nice subdivision and the lots are worth $30,000 and the starting bid, that's the one that's just abandoned. They just left. That went for $100. Went for $100. Folks, could you sell it for $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000? Folks, the lot itself is worth $30,000, not counting the construction on that lot. So Bill purchased, the guy I showed you when we started, he purchased all 22 lots. He did have some competitive bidding and someone bid up to $800. And so he did pay $800 for 1 or 2. But basically, he got this subdivision for $100 a lot because nobody knew what to do with nobody knew what to do with it. So the auction went on, and the auctioneer just kept selling these lots at $100. Now the lots are worth $30,000. Now, if you haven't been around real estate for a while, I can tell you the first thing a developer does is they clean the lot, then they dig a hole and they put in the water. You've got to have water. You've got to have sewer. You got to have electrical. You got to have cable. You got everything that you need. They put all that in, then they cover it up and get it ready so they can put a foundation down. All right, all that goes in. To do that, they had to put in the road. So you can see the road is in. They had to pave the road. So everything there. So a lot easily is worth $30,000. In some neighborhoods, they're worth $130,000. All right. So Bill's buying these at $100 each. $100. But if he spent $800, look at the bottom of the slide. If he spent $800 per lot, he would have spent $17,000. But he didn't spend $17,000. So these are residential lots. They're worth $30,000 each, and he's going to get 22 of them because other people didn't want to bid, and they certainly didn't want to go above $800. Now, was the auction crowded? No. There's only a few people there. Even though it was advertised on the county website, it was advertised in the newspaper, all right, people didn't show up because they didn't know what to do with that lot. Well, I can tell you what to do with that lot. It's real easy. You put it on Zillow, you put it on multiple listing service, you put it on eBay, you put it on Craigslist, and you can sell those lots. All right. So this is the beautiful subdivision. He bought the whole thing. Okay, $100 a piece for each one of them. Now, are you going to get one for $100? I don't know. You have to go to the auction to find out. You'll never know unless you get in the game. If you get in the game, you'll certainly find out, and I'm going to show you a lot more. All right, now, if it's a $30,000 lot, could you sell it for $9,000 or $9,900? Of course you could. You only bought it for $100. If you bought it for $100 and you sold it for $9,900, you just made yourself almost $10,000. How many of those would you like to do? What's the hurry to sell them? You can take your time. You're only in at $100 each. I mean, what a bargain that is. Now, folks, I don't make the rules. The auctioneer makes the rules. But when they tell you that it's going to go for $100, do you want to be at that auction? You're darn right you want to be at that auction because now you're just putting up pennies and you get a chance to make a small fortune. All right. So what is he going to do? Well, if he sells those properties and he sells them for $9,000 or $10,000 each, he's going to make a $200,000 profit. He's got 20 lots he sells each one of them at $10,000 or $9,900, he has a chance to make $200,000. How much money did he put up? Look on the screen. If he only invested $17,000 and he didn't invest that much, and he has a chance to sell bargain prices to other people, folks, would you like to be in the business like that? The tax defaulted business has been around for 200 years. I didn't invent it. I just learned step by step what you're doing now. I went through the process of going through hundreds of auction lists and hundreds of auctions themselves. Why? Because I wanted to learn how to do it. Deals, we'll teach you how to do that. The question you should be asking yourself, would you be interested in learning how to do this? You should be thinking about how you're going to learn and when would be a good time to get you started. So if you're a student, you can learn how to do this, and I'll even show you someone doing assessments online right after I finish this particular video. All right, now most people don't realize how many defaulted properties they're going to be. Now, I'm not talking about real estate foreclosures. I'm talking about tax defaulted property. Now, these tax defaulted properties, when the county sells the property, there's no mortgage and there's no deed of trust. That means in most cases, there's no lien on the property, but you should check and see if there's a municipal lien, and you should check and see if there's any federal lien. But most of the properties, they're free and clear from the time you buy them at the auction. Now, the auction wipes out the mortgage and the deed of trust. It's the law in every county in the United States, in every single county. Now, what you've just seen happens all across the United States. What you've just seen was Michigan, because we were already in Michigan. I'm going to show you the same kind of thing took place in San Bernardino, California. So California decided they would change the rules. Now, why would they change the rules? Folks, the government's got an abundance of tax defaulted property. They've got too many properties. If people don't buy them, what are they going to do? The government must sell the property. Why must they sell the property? Because the property, if it's on the tax roll, it produces money for the county. If they can't, every property produces money for the county. What does the county do with that? The county pays the school teachers. They pay the police department. They pay the sheriff. They pay the firefighters. They pay the county employees. If the property is on a default list, they're not collecting any money. So they'll do anything to auction the property. So a property value could be up here and it will sell for 60, 70, 80% less because they've got to get rid of the property. If you're in the right place at the right time, and I'm telling you there's 5,000 auctions, you're going to be able to make some money. So here's a perfect example in California. And we're going to talk about San Bernardino County. That's one county north of Los Angeles. As soon as you go over the Los Angeles forest and you're past the mountains, you're in San Bernardino County. All right, the treasurer lowered the price to $100. All right, now they do some unusual things, and I don't know what they're going to do. There's no specific rule for every county to follow. The treasurer of the county does exactly what they want. So at this particular auction, the treasurer had 3,100 properties to sell. Now, I just told you, here was a picture, here's a brochure from Los Angeles with over 1,000, and they're going to have at least one or two auctions this year. So big numbers are big numbers. So they got 3,100 properties to auction, all right, but they couldn't sell them all. So they only sold 1,500. What are they going to do with the other 1,500 properties? Well, they told everybody at the auction, guess what? We're going to have another auction, and we're going to lower the price and start at $100. Now, I don't know when the county's going to do that. I have no way of knowing. The county doesn't call me up and tell me they're going to do it, but we have access to every county. I'm going to show you how to have access to every county. When they do some unusual things, would you like to buy a California property for $100, or at least the starting bid of $100? Well, folks, I don't know when they're going to do it, but they do it. And when they do that, they're going to have an auction, and they're going to notify the people that have been to previous auctions. So now they're going to have 1,600 properties. They're going to start at $100. So my client, and I'll introduce you to him in just a minute, my client decided he was going to go to that same auction. He was going to go online. And what did he buy? He bought a property that was valued at $150,000. Now, he doesn't make the value. I don't make the value. The tax assessor said this property in this neighborhood, the lot alone is worth $150,000. He bought that property for pennies on the dollar. Starting bid was $100. So this is Renee. He bought that property. Read the bottom line. He bought it for 6 cents on the dollar. Now, folks, think about what I'm saying. If you could buy a property for 6 cents on the dollar, there's no mortgage, there's no deed of trust, you get a 94% discount. Could you make money if you could get property for a 94% discount? Well, if you know anything about real estate, you know you could make money. Now, is every deal going to be that good? No, but how many deals do you have to make? He bought a property, and let's go back one slide. Let's see what he did. He bought a $150,000 property for $9,700. Could he sell that property for $50,000 and be happy? Could he sell it for $75,000 and be happier? Could he sell it for $100,000? He could sell it for anything he wants and be happy because he bought it for 6 cents on the dollar. What's my point? My point is, this is happening all over America. This is not brand new. This has been going on for 200 years. Nobody's going to tell you about it. We not only tell you about it, but we show you how to profit from this business. If you can get a 94% discount, how is that going to change your life? How is that going to change you? And what if you could do that online? He bought that property. He did it online. Now, before he bought it, I'm going to tell you right now, he went there and looked at it. He did not go and just buy it online. He looked at it. He had other people look at it. He did assessments of it. He knew that property was worth $150,000. I have a whole video of it, but it'd take me half an hour to show it to you. But you're getting the point. He knew what the value was. He got it for 6 cents on the dollar. How many of those do you have to do? So let's stay in California. This is the same guy. He's nervous about buying property. I said to him, why don't you go to Los Angeles? Because when they have an auction, they always have a lot of properties. He said, well, I didn't know they had a lot of properties. And I said, well, they do. He said, well, I only want to go to the auction where there's a lot for me to choose from. So I said, wait just a minute. We'll call Los Angeles and find out how many they have. So I got on the telephone and I called the treasurer in Los Angeles. And the treasurer simply told me how many properties were available. I asked a couple of questions of the treasurer. Question number one, do you sell tax lien certificates in Los Angeles? The treasurer said, no. I said, well, what do you do? He said, if people don't pay the tax, we confiscate the property and then we sell it for back taxes. I said, when you sell it for back taxes, what happens to the mortgage? And the treasurer said to me, the mortgage is wiped out. There is no mortgage. I said, let me make sure I got this right. If I buy a property in Los Angeles and I buy it at the auction, there's no mortgage on the property or no deed of trust. He said, you got it right, buddy. I said, one more question. How many properties at the next auction? Do you have a list of them? He said, yeah, send me $12 and I'll send you the list. Well, that's the book they sent me. They sent me a book of 2,000. This one here, I just downloaded for our class today. It's got 1,000. So how many properties do you want? These properties are all sold at the back taxes. So my friend, Renee, who you're going to meet right now, went to that auction. Let's see what he says. Well, he's certainly welcome, right? Now, this is a guy that's never going to have to work again, is he? Okay, he bought $1 million worth of property for $85,000. Now, everybody that's watching me doesn't have $85,000, so you're going to have to get your friends together. But he wanted to buy 5 properties. So he bought 5 properties, okay? He told you, that was him on video telling you about it. Let's do the analytics together. Let's just do it together so you get a good sense for how good this business could be to you. All right, so this is a picture of Los Angeles on the beach, all right? He already told us he bought $1 million worth of property. Now, I didn't set that price. The tax assessor set that price. Now, the tax assessor, I don't know if they're always right on and exact. Sometimes they're a little too high, sometimes they're a little too low, but it's not 10 cents on the dollar, I'm going to tell you that. So the assessment is $1 million, all right? Now, the next part of the question I'm going to put up on the screen, I want you to take a second and read the next 2 lines, okay? Because he paid $85,000. That's going to be about 8.5 cents on the dollar. All right, so he got one heck of a deal. Now, if you could buy for 8.5 cents on the dollar, how many would you buy? Yeah, you'd buy 2 or 3, or just like he did, he bought 5 of those properties. So let's do it together. Read the second and third line, and I'll read it slowly with you. If he sells all 5 properties and gives an 80% discount, will they sell quickly? So if your answer is yes, raise your hand. Okay, now I can look around and look at the screens, and sure enough, everybody's got their hand up. All right, now let's think about what took place here. Okay, he's got $1 million worth of property. He's now going to give an 80% discount. So let's do that right on the screen so we can all see it. $1 million assessment. He's going to give a discount before he tries to sell them of 80%. That means he's going to sell the properties for $200,000. Do you remember what he paid? Yeah, 8.5 cents on the dollar. He paid $85,000. $85,000. What kind of money is he going to make on that deal? Not bad, right? Folks, can you do that on real estate anywhere else? Tax defaulted property is in every county in the United States. Every county in the United States. It's going to happen whether you learn it or not. Someone is going to take advantage of it. These auctions are taking place. I've been involved in it for well over 30 years' time. The average person is not aware of how much information is really available about real estate that you can get online. So this training is going to give you a system which will grant you access to all the detailed information about real estate across the United States. Now, all of this is all legal and ethical. It's the public records. So once you know how to do what I'm about to teach you in the next few minutes, you're going to have a competitive advantage, and you're going to be way ahead of any competitor. I'm going to show you in the next few minutes from your kitchen table. I can teach you how to research the detail on every property in the United States. In other words, I'm going to give you access, first of all, to 3,000 plus counties and 100 million properties in the United States. And you're going to be able to do that sitting at your computer. So what I'm doing is I'm taking you into the world of big money with small investments. So in a few minutes, I'm actually going to introduce you to my secret weapon. And when you see that, this is something that I've proven, I've tested, and I've perfected. And I did that while there was big money on the line. Now, I'm going to tell you so that you have confidence, 97% of the students who use this training system are successful at multiple auctions. In other words, they're going to find the bargain properties that they want to buy at the auction. Now, remember, these starting bids are going to be 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. Imagine you're going to be able to find those properties. I'm definitely going to show you how to do that. Those properties won't have a mortgage and they won't have a deed of trust on the property. So this is going to accelerate your earnings, and in the future, you're going to make a bundle of dough. Okay, I know why you're here. You're here because you want to make money and you want to do a lot less work. So what I've done is I've designed and I've created materials for the average person, but they're not average in the sense of having a lot of responsibilities. All my clients have a lot of things to do. They're busy people, but I've designed this so average people can do it. So in this business, you need to work 5 or 10 hours a month. Now, when I said 5 or 10, I should have said 5 to 10 focused hours a week. 5 to 10 focused hours a week on this program. Now, that means you're going to do that online. You don't want to be spending time on YouTube videos. You don't want to be on social media. You need to focus on 5 to 10 hours a week. And if you'll do that, you're going to be successful with this program. We're going to teach you how to work smart and not work hard. You're going to work on this system. I'm going to give you a game plan. If you'll follow the game plan that I give you, you will definitely be successful. Now, my students come from all walks of life, okay? Most people that are watching this video don't have a lot of real estate experience. That's good, because now you're going to follow our set procedure and a plan. If you'll follow the plan, you'll be successful. Now, it's specific, and if you'll follow it, you'll definitely make money. Now, if you had a previous job, that doesn't matter. I don't care what your background was. Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you freedom from worry, and you're not going to have financial concerns. Why? Because we're going to give you a step-by-step system. For example, all right, this is Chad. All right, now Chad went to school, got his degree, finished his degree just at the wrong time in the marketplace, because guess what? COVID and a few other things were causing the market to be in a turmoil. Tough time getting a job, but he did get a job not doing what he wanted to do. But here's his story, and it's just summarized in a few seconds. You'll get it completely. What a nice man. He said, I saved his life. Now, I didn't do that. He just took action. The same course that you're looking at, that's what he did. He did that. He made himself $34,000. Now, just take a close look at this slide. Okay, here's a guy. First deal, he made $34,000. But what I want you to do is with me, let's read the top of the slide. Where would you be now if you had learned this 5 years ago? Your whole life would be different. And it's going to be different when you take the course this time. This is important. Now, this company is different than any other company online or anywhere else. This company is different because we provide every client with a guide. I actually call him the facilitator to accelerate your success. We want you to be successful. The people you're looking at, they give classes daily. Now, all 5 of them don't give a class every day. Each day, one of these people will give a class. So you see Lance over there on the left. He talks about how to find properties online and how to decide which ones to purchase and which. Each one of these people has a class for 30 minutes every day, and we give that class to you. I'm going to give you an example of that in just a second. But we're the only ones that do that. You can find any competitor you want. They will not give you a class every single day. For example, folks, these classes are 30 minutes. If you didn't get it, you could go back and you could play it again because our classes are there for you so that we can help you every single day of the week. Now, if you didn't get what you just saw there and it was a little too fast for you, let me do the exact same thing. This is Bob. He did exactly what she told him to do. First went and researched the county he wanted. He found the county. He found this lakefront lot, a tax assessed for $39,000. Well, that looked like a pretty good value to him, but he doesn't know what the minimum bid's going to be. So he just did exactly what she said. Followed the system that you just heard explained step by step. And guess what he found out? He found out the minimum bid on that lot was $1,500. Now, let me back up and just show you again. All right, there's the lot, $1,500. That would be a bargain of the century if you could get that lot. So sure enough, he headed over there to go to the auction. And when he got to the auction, he found out there was other bidders. You're going to find the same thing. There's going to be other bidders, especially for a bargain like that, $1,500. So he said, all right, he was going to try and bid on the property. Someone else bid $1,500 first, so he bid a little higher, and it went back and forth, back and forth. Folks, he finally ended up buying the property that was valued at $39,000. He bought it for $3,700. Folks, that's less than 10 cents on the dollar. Now, everyone else is going to do what? They're going to teach you how to buy. You're going to figure out how to buy yourself. What we teach you how to do is we make sure that you sell it, because now you're going to get cash in the bank to go to the bank. So we're going to tell you to put it on Craigslist. It costs you about $5 or $10. Do it on eBay. It costs you less than $200. You're going to advertise their property. Let people know. eBay, Craigslist. How about put it in the newspaper? So you put it in the newspaper. Now, my strategy always is buy it low, sell it low. So that means I'm always going to give a big discount. I bought it for pennies, so I'm going to give a discount. So I put auction list in my ad. I put the tax assessed value in my ad. All right, so we saw $39,000. All right, he's going to give a 33% discount. He's putting the lot for sale for $24,000. Well, everybody would like to get a 33% discount. Well, guess what happened? 30 days later, someone bought the property for $24,000. All right, now, folks, let's look at the math, okay? This is easy to do. He had $3,700 minimum bid, and he sold it for $24,000. That's a $20,000 profit. Let's just stop here for 10 seconds. Would $20,000 be a big change for you? You could have borrowed that money on your credit card from someone you knew. Anybody could have done this for $3,700, and now you're going to make $20,000. I'd say that was one heck of a profit. That's what this business is all about. We teach you not only to buy it, but we're going to teach you how to sell it. The return on investment isn't like the banks at 2 or 3%. The return on investment here, ROI, is 500%. That's what you want, and that's what we're going to teach you how to do it. Anybody can make money in this business, but you have to get in the game. Now, here's Bob standing on the lot. I want you to pay especially close attention to the question I'm going to ask him. I asked him this simple question. I said, Bob, is this the best deal you ever made? Now, we just saw a great deal, right? So I asked him, is this the best deal you ever made? And here, folks, he said, not uncommon to make that kind of money. Let's look at that again. $22,000 was the sale price. $67 was the purchase price. Folks, you can't go to Denny's with your family and get dinner, or even lunch for $67, all right? You tell me, is this the kind of business you want to be into? What impact would happen in your life if you made 1 or 2 deals like that each year? Well, folks, I can't teach you everything I know in one day. I know that you're anxious to know, are we going to sell you a big, expensive program? Well, I've got to tell you, my programs have been expensive in the past, very expensive in the past, because we had to spend so much money to bring the programs to the public. We had to fly to hotels, and we had to rent those hotels and so on. All right. Now, that cost $6,900 in the old days. Doesn't cost that now because there's no more travel. I don't have to pay for that. There's no more hotel. I don't have to pay for that. I don't have to take staff with me. All right. So now I'm reducing all the costs to what? $1,995. You can buy either course you want. You buy one or the other. You'll get to the same destination by having either one of those courses. Folks, what I'm saying is I'm going to give you, because you're doing it online with me, I'm going to give you a 75% discount. Think about that. 75%, and you're just getting started. So you're not going to pay any of those big prices. We're going to pull the price down, give you as much as possible discount so that you can get started. Now, let me do a couple other things that other people don't do. I've already told you this company is different. It's different in a lot of ways because, first of all, we want to make sure that you're going to be successful. How do we do that? Well, we make sure, number one, that we have the best courses that are available. But number two, we make sure we have a facilitator, a guide to help you. Every working day, there's a guide to help you out. These people have become famous themselves just by giving classes and helping people just like you. All right, now, today, I'm going to give you a written guarantee. Now, a lot of people say they're going to give you a guarantee. I'm going to give you a written guarantee. Now, the internet is just full of people that are selling stuff, and you don't know what you're going to get. Well, with me, that doesn't work out. With me, I give you a written guarantee that this will work for you, all right? So I don't make you a lot of promises. I'm going to give you a written guarantee. You can take the guarantee to your attorney if you want. You can take it to the attorney. There's no weasel clauses. We can't get out of the guarantee, all right? We have to produce what we said. Now, I know you don't want to sit and read a guarantee. Let me read it to you. It'll just take me a second to do this. Here's how my guarantee reads. It reads this way. If you get involved and you do this, if after 60 days you haven't bought tax liens, 5 of them that you wanted, if you're a tax lien certificate buyer, if you want to buy those tax liens and you haven't done it because you haven't found what you want, well, just let us know and I'll have someone in my office help you buy it. That's right. That's what we'll go through to make sure. We're going to make sure that you're going to be successful. Now, some of you are really going to go for the gold and start doing tax defaulted property. Now, that's my kind of people. I love that. Well, take a look at this. Okay, if you haven't found the tax deed property that you want, where you can make a nice buy it for 20 cents on the dollar. If you haven't found that property, you can just call our office, and I'll have someone in the office do the job for you. So we're into a guarantee that's going to work for you. This is serious, folks. If you'll do this right, like we're telling you to do it, you're going to end up getting wealthy. Why are you going to get wealthy? Because we've got people to help you. This company is different. We have guides that are going to help you. If you had to pay for a 30-minute class every day for 1 year, that would be a $5,000 investment. It's my gift to you. It's my gift to you. You can take each one of those guys. Every single day, there's a class to help you out. So we don't stop there. Just like you saw Linda, it's a nice 5-hour class, a nice class of 30 minutes. She's going to give those classes. You can watch the class again and again. If you don't get it, you can come back to the class. For 1 solid year, there's going to be people there to help you. Now, look, I want to give you every chance possible to succeed. So right out of the gate, I want to make sure that you're going to be successful. So what I do is I put my money where my mouth is, okay? I want you to succeed. I have already told you that if you invest in either one of these programs, it's $1,995. But what I'm going to do for you when you do that is I'm going to give you a certificate. When I give you that certificate, it's going to allow you to have a certified coach every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. I pay that coach $100 for 1 solid year. Now, let's figure this out. For 1 year, that's about 50 weeks. So I'm going to pay $5,000 to a coach every Wednesday night, and you can get on Zoom, and there'll be other people there too, and they're going to ask questions, and that's a big advantage because now you hear other people's questions. Guess what? You'll be able to do that for 1 year. Now, folks, you're investing $1,995 with me. Guess what? I'm investing $5,000 in you because I want you to be successful. Think about what I've said so far. First, I said I'm going to give you a written guarantee. Then I said I'm going to give you a guide every single day. Now I'm going to give you a certified coach every Wednesday night for a year. And you know what? I'm not even going to stop there. Now, why do I do all this? Because I know if I give you the right training, it's going to accelerate your learning. You're going to get through that learning curve, and you're going to be able to get into a business where you can make money. Folks, read the bottom line. I'll pay a certified coach to help you for 1 year every single Wednesday night. Would anybody else do that? So check around. You'll find out. No one will give you a written guarantee. No one will give you a facilitator, a guide to help you. No one's going to give you a coach. People don't do that. But you know, I'm not finished yet. I'm not finished because I have another gift that's absolutely going to shock you. It's absolutely going to shock you. I can tell you this right now, okay? Now, students ask me all the time, what one thing can I do and that I'll be successful? So that one simple thing, I'm going to give it to you right now. And I'll guarantee that if you'll do what I'm going to show you right now, and you'll follow along and use this tool, if you'll use this tool, you will be successful. So I'm about to show you my secret weapon, and I call it the Ted.Thomas Magic Map. Folks, the Ted.Thomas Magic Map is available on other channels and is priced at $2,000, but I'm going to make that my gift to you. I'm going to make that my gift to you and add it to the program with no addition to the price. So just the bonuses we talked about today, after getting a guarantee, you'll have a facilitator to work with, 5 facilitators that'll help you out all year long. You'll have a coach to work with, and now we've got the Magic Map on top of that, and there's classes on the Magic Map. Now, this is sold for $2,000 on other websites, and I'm going to go, at this point in time, I'm going to button it up for today, but I'm going to make you an irresistible offer. This is going to shock most of you, okay? Now, I've already told you about all the bonus materials I'm going to give you and the thousands of dollars that you'll get in value, all right? So I don't think a lot of people will believe what we're going to do, but I'm going to give you something today that is very rare. I'm going to give you 2 home study courses for the price of 1. So the hand-holding and deal-making was $1,995, and the Retire Young and Rich is $1,009. I'm going to give you 2 courses for the price of 1. So you're going to purchase 1, and we're going to add the second one to it. So let me say that again. You're going to purchase 1, and we're going to add the second one to it. So hand-holding and deal-making, you could purchase that, or you could purchase Retire Young and Rich. Either one, the total would be $3,990. All you do is purchase 1, and you'll get the second one absolutely free. Plus, you'll get all the bonus materials that I've already talked about. So both of those programs and all the materials for only $1,995. What I'm telling you is I'm giving you an 88% discount from the total price, and you're only going to invest $1,995. Now, that's a lot to remember, so let me review this irresistible offer once again. It shocks most people, and that's why it's so popular. Number 1, you're not going to believe it, but I'm going to give you 2 home study courses for the price of 1. That means you purchase 1, but you will get both of those courses. So both of the courses that I've shown you today, you'll receive both of those. However, you'll only pay for 1 of those programs. Now, what about all the bonus materials? Well, in your program, I'm including a daily guidance tutorial. That means there's going to be a facilitator there to give you a 30-minute class each day for 1 solid year. In addition to that, as I said, I put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to pay a coach $100, which is their fee, $100 for every Wednesday night to give you a class. And there'll be other people, so you'll get the advantage of hearing what questions they have on that. So there's $100 that I'm paying for a total of 1 year or 50 weeks. That's $5,000. I'm going to give you that. Both of those I'm giving to you. There's no charge. And then finally, the Ted.Thomas Magic Map, which you've already seen. You just move your cursor, touch one of those white circles, and it'll tell you how many auctions are going to be in that state. And you can go to every single one of those and download, just like you saw Lance do and you saw Linda do the whole thing. All right, so let's button it up for today. The total price today is $1,995.